In a 1998 interview, Mel Gibson made a number of cryptic references to a dark and evil side of Hollywood that he personally encountered.
When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like. Could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, a place like this can humiliate you. And it can humiliate you, it can be humbling. I mean, it does rip your life to pieces.
Is it?
If you'll let it.
Yeah.
Got a phone call from Mel Gibson. He actually did the final edit of The Sound of Freedom. That's how we know each other, but not well enough that I'd be getting phone calls. And he told me that he was in Budapest at the time. This was right hours after the invasion, and he said he supports a bunch of orphans in Ukraine, and he was worried about them, and he asked if I could help get them out. So now I've got 12 from my wife, I got 13 others from Mel Gibson, and I'm thinking, okay, I got this list of kids I got to get out. I told Mel, I said, you got to help me. This is going to be expensive. I won't ask you for direct donation, but can you help me film this? You know, let's film what's happening so we can get people to understand and they can support us. He said, no problem. He helped us get set up and started filming. 4 months later, what I thought was going to be maybe a documentary about Ukraine ends up being a 4-part docuseries that's almost done. It's being produced by DNA Films and executive produced by Tony Robbins. That's how crazy it got and how prophetic my wife was. When I showed up in Ukraine with a list of, I think, 20 names, the Ukrainians countered me and gave me over 10,000 names of orphans that they didn't know where they were because of the chaos caused by war. And more importantly, and more frightening to me, was the fact that I know that human trafficking is a $32 billion a year business. It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world, and I also know how kids get forced into that market. And it's through vulnerable situations like in the aftermath of a hurricane, mostly in a developed country, or an earthquake, or in this case, a war.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin,
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm hearing that a lot. There's studies on that now where people have proven that
people
they've
drinking methylene blue and stuff like that.
Yeah, methylene blue, which was a fabric dye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a textile dye. And now they find it has profound effects on your mitochondria.
Yep.
You have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken, that you are going to be over at some point by people who you may have done something nice for. And it may happen that by circumstance, or even very purposefully, that you someone over. But that shouldn't get in the way of you being able to sit down and have fun with them. You have to still try and love those people. It's not personal. They don't really mean to hurt you.
No.
Not really.
Nothing. You understand nothing. I'll show you what you are.
Christopher Walken, first time I ever did a casting session in America, terrified me.
Me too. He came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. He floated in, sideways, through a crowd of people. He was wearing black, and it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. And he moved sideways, and he just sat down in a chair next to me. I just started talking about the Middle Ages, and he began to talk tortures. And we swapped tortures, because I'd read this book on torture. I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book, and he was like, oh, and he'd try and top it. I wanted to leave. And because I knew that I didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
and he was getting scary.
I can always smell a graveyard.
I turned around to avoid his steady gaze at one point, and I was looking at a building with the top of the sixes on it, so there was a huge illuminated 666 in red, and I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling, and I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist, you know?
I just kept having visions about it. What was that like 12 hours like? And what was that really like? I mean, what does it mean to get scourged and crucified? And the significance of what one single event and what one God-man has done historically and changed civilization. I mean, this is like an amazing thing.
Did you ever think it was too much?
Of course it was too much. Yes, that was the whole point of it. It was the mystery of suffering, which is the sacrificial lamb, you know. I mean, if it was easy, it isn't worth much.
Just hours ago, Mel Gibson's controversial movie, The Passion of the Christ, officially opened this morning across the country.
The newspapers, they all pig-piled on, and I was like, you know, seriously persecuted. My rights were violated in every way you can imagine, and no one seemed to give a shit, and no one would distribute it. No one. So I thought, oh, you know, and I found this little distribution company with 2 guys and a dog. We sort of walked around the system here, which I think is a big sin.
Will The Passion of the Christ kill Mel Gibson's career?
And then we went out. I made handshake deals with the exhibitors, went and put it and made a killing. It was just like, went crazy.
I'd stopped worrying after the first couple of million, really.
I stopped worrying.
So Braveheart had the support, but then people kind of decided it wasn't going to happen.
I got a call from the girl doing the story in the LA Calendar section apologizing to me. I have to do a beat-up story on you. I said, you have to do a beat-up story on me? What do you mean? She says, well, the editor has told me how to write this, and I have to beat you up. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And she's like, I need a job. And I'm like, okay. I said, you do what you have to do, and it's okay, I forgive you. She, you know, had conscience about it, which is good, I guess, but she still did it. But, you know, you get those things in the calendar, it says, this is good and this sucks, you know, and they have 2 pictures of 2 guys in kilts.
So when he came back to life and became not only successful, but the Oscar winner, is that redemption? Is that...
Oh, total. Yeah, total.
And the Oscar goes to Mel Gibson for Braveheart.
Well, like most directors, I suppose what I really want to do is act out.
He's hit the dusty trail. He's wandering out there in the wasteland still. You never know, he might trudge back in a couple of decades, but I doubt it.
You're getting paid! I'm not! I have earned money for you! Who takes his ass up there? You scary mother... Hurry up! Who wants to see? Who the f*** see? Hooray!
That's Gibson ranting at screenwriter Joe Esterhaus last year in Mel's Costa Rica home, losing it over a failed project dubbed The Jewish Braveheart. Joe's terrified son was recording.
The man has got a spiritual malady for a start.
He hit me and choked me in front of my son and then, you know, brandished the gun at me. And the very following morning, the very following day, he was already apologetic, asking for a chance for us to be together, that he will be cured, he will be treated, he will be evaluated, all those words. And I was covering up for him.
Be a woman that fucking supports me instead of a woman that sucked on me and just fucking sucks me dry. And once. I just need a nice woman to look after my beautiful daughter. You're a pain in the ass! You're a pain in my ass! Stop being that! You're a pain in my ass. Nothing but...
Had some time off. It was the off season, you might say.
One of the things you said was the Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world. Are those anti-Semitic words?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds horrible. And I'm ashamed of that. That came out of my mouth. Now, maybe it was just that very day that Lebanon and Israel were at it.
You're talking to the damaged here.
It's not the grog isn't the problem. It's up here. You know, that's the problem.
I was intemperate in my youth. Let me be real clear here, in sobriety, sitting here in front of you, national television, that I don't believe that Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world. I mean, that's an outrageous, drunken statement.
It's a play, Buster. You perform it. And what's his reason? I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food? Hurt with the same weapons? Subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means? Warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer? As the question is, if you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge?
Some people need a big tap on the shoulder. In my case, public humiliation on a global scale seems to be what was required. I'm kind of a work in progress right now, so the risk of everything, life, limb, family, is not enough to keep you from it. That's the hell of it. You are indefensible, and people can help, yeah. But it's God. You gotta go there. You gotta do it.
Everyone wants that inspiration. Everyone wants to feel that. It's not really a war film, it's kind of like a love story. I mean, greater love hath no man than he laid down his life for his brothers, and Desmond did that again and again. It was ad nauseum almost. He's just an ordinary guy doing extraordinary things in extremely difficult circumstances. And man, could I be like that? Am I that evolved that I could be so selfless as to crawl into enemy fire to save another man's life? I don't think I could do that. I don't think many people could do that. But that guy did it. So maybe I could do it. I mean, we've been telling hero stories since we were squatting around a fire eating raw meat, you know, and making fecal matter paintings on the wall, sort of, you know, talking about the buffalo hunt or whatever it was. And, you know, we need those things to feed our souls.
Mel Gibson, you know you saved me too. I can't stand up for his behavior, but I can certainly stand up for the man that I love.
I asked Mel to present this award to me for a reason, because when I couldn't get sober, he told me not to give up hope, and he urged me to find my faith. Didn't have to be his or anyone else's as long as it was rooted in forgiveness. And I couldn't get hired, so he cast me in the lead of a movie that was actually developed for him, and he kept a roof over my head, and he kept food on the table. And most importantly, he said that if I accepted responsibility for my wrongdoings, and if I embraced that part of my soul that was ugly, hugging the cactus, he calls it. He said that if I hugged the cactus long enough, I'd become a man of some humility, and that my life would take on a new meaning. And I did, and it worked. All he asked in return was that someday I help the next guy in some small way. It's reasonable to assume that at the time he didn't imagine the next guy would be him. So anyway, on this special occasion, I humbly ask that you join me, unless you are completely without sin, in which case you picked the wrong industry, in forgiving my friend his trespasses, offering him the same clean slate you have me, and allowing him to continue his great and ongoing contribution to our collective art without shame. He's hugged the cactus long enough.